From the OUTV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics. Proudly combating the thought police since 2016, here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Briefing. Perhaps you've heard about the experiment that's happening in the Seattle area called the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHAZ for short. That zone has been stirring up quite a bit of controversy over the past couple of weeks in the wake of the protests that sparked after the murder of George Floyd. CHAZ is a safe space created by Seattle protesters. It's considered to be a police-free neighborhood. Officers left the area on Monday, June 8th, abandoning the police precinct located in that area, and largely haven't bothered to return. The idea of an autonomous zone started off kind of tongue-in-cheek. It was referring to an area that's free from local government structure and control. Using barricades that police set up to control the protesters, those protesters used the barricades to set up roadblocks to keep city traffic out of the area. They ended up sequestering an approximate 6-block area of the central Seattle neighborhood of Capitol Hill. In a few short weeks, CHAZ has evolved into the center of peaceful protests, free political speeches, co-ops, community gardens. On any given day, hundreds can be found in the area hanging out, smoking weed, throwing movie nights, and discussing current events. Yet, some people have painted CHAZ as some kind of war zone, portraying the tiny neighborhood as if it was forcibly seceding from the U.S. 9 days into the zone's creation, the name has also evolved, as it's now known as the Capitol Hill Organized Protest, or CHOP for short. So is CHOP an anarchist threat to society? Is it full of armed anarchists that are demanding mob-like protection payments? Why is Donald Trump tweeting that it's time for the governor to take back the city by force before he's compelled to intervene? While Brief News Brief is not in Seattle to report directly on CHOP, according to our sources, CHOP appears to be in step with the Occupy Wall Street movement like 2011. It's like a mass sit-in. It's an ongoing protest. Protesters have managed to create a police-free space in which black people, indigenous people, people of color, queer people, houseless people feel especially safe. It's a statement that protesters don't need the harsh crackdown tactics from overbearing police. For the moment, young people have won this political battleground victory, and they are choosing to represent themselves as peaceful, welcoming, and multicultural. How long will it last before the city clears them out? Too soon to know for now, but the CHOP revolution is holding its own ground. How could anyone have seen this story coming? The Trump administration is receiving criticism from multiple fronts over its attempts to block oversight of its multi-trillion-dollar economic relief efforts in the wake of the COVID economic devastation. What? They're doing what? Who would have thought that this would happen? One thing that brings all Americans together is the thought of billions in tax revenue just disappearing overnight into Trump's wormhole with no oversight or accountability. Unfortunately, that's what's currently happening. In fact, the administration's own Inspector General is joining the chorus with bipartisan lawmakers clamoring to get the goods on where the money's going. Show me the money! Yesterday, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin walked back his announcement last week that he would not disclose the name or amounts of those borrowing from the Paycheck Protection Program. Today it was revealed that 4 lawmakers have benefited from the program, intensifying the calls to follow the money and know who's getting what. While we only know of 4 lawmakers as of now, odds are there are more where that came from. Both Republicans and Democrats are being reported to have dipped into the cookie jar. But only the Small Business Administration and the Treasury Department have the information that the public seeks, and the Trump administration is refusing to provide any details. What? Provide details? When have they ever hidden details? Treasury Department lawyers are insisting the administration doesn't need to detail the beneficiaries of more than $1 trillion in federal rescue programs. Don't worry about it. They're doing the right thing with the money. You can trust them. They have your best interests in mind. Just wait for the trickle. Keep your mouth open because the trickle's coming soon. Don't worry, they promise. 5 Democratic lawmakers, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, introduced legislation aimed at beefing up the oversight of the bailouts by shoring up the independence of the inspectors general, handing subpoena power to the Congressional Watchdog Panel and offering new protections to whistleblowers, among other measures. Warren said that lawmakers should roll this measure out into the next stimulus package, but it has no Republican support yet. Huh, really? No Republican support for oversight? The program's loan application specifically states the borrower's name, identity, and loan amount will be disclosed. It's in the contract, brah! There is no assumed privacy on getting this government handout. So will we get the goods on who got the goods? Time will tell. There are aliens out there, lots of them, for real, and science says so. According to a new calculation, there are 36 other planets in our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, with alien life advanced enough to communicate with us. So we're not talking about planets full of bacteria or mold growing on the rocks. We're not talking about dinosaurs. We're talking about planets with alien life forms that can communicate and travel in space. That number assumes that life on Earth is more or less representative of the way that life evolves anywhere in the universe. You know, life as we know it, third rock from the sun, 5 billion years of evolution kind of thing. Bad news is that even though the aliens are in our neighborhood of the Milky Way, we're probably too far away to ever meet. This new theory was published yesterday in the Astrophysical Journal. If life on other planets follows the same trajectory as on Earth, there are 36 intelligent, communicating extraterrestrial civilizations sharing the Milky Way galaxy with humans today. Our nearest neighbor would likely be 17,000 light years away, so it would take a beam of light traveling, the speed that a beam of light would travel, 17,000 years before it hit them. A theoretical alien civilization would have to be broadcasting detectable signals for approximately 3,060 years for us to be able to pick them up. That means to establish a two-way connection with such a civilization, humanity and the aliens would have to be able to hold it together for another 6,120 years. Now, those calculations are a way of understanding humanity's existence and its future. If there turns out to be more civilizations out there in the galaxy than the new math predicts, that means that either life can evolve under far broader conditions than just Earth-like ones, or it means that civilizations tend to be longer lived than just ours thus far. If civilizations tend to self-destruct rapidly as soon as civilization arises, that's not good news for us finding aliens. On the contrary, if we ever do find an alien, that probably means that life and civilization will continue on Earth happily ever after. We're all just one big giant math equation, people. Isn't it wonderful?
Newsman, get your news, man. Come on, newsman, tell me the news. Tell me the news. Tell me the news. Newsman, get your news, man. Come on, newsman, tell me the news. Newsman, get your news.